Well guys, a whole bunch of you have found this thing on the internet and asked me to do a review. This is a RockBros, there's the company, and they call it the RockBros Hamburger Anti-Theft Bike Lock. And I gotta say, it's pretty cool. When we take a look at it, it looks like a tubular lock. And in fact, it is, of course. And then when you look closely, let me grab a pointer here and see if I can get some focus going. It looks like a standard 7-pin tubular lock. Except when you look really closely, you notice that you have 3 on this side and there's a blank, like a hole down here. And then there's 3 on this side. So it's a 6-pin lock. I've kind of boogered it up, messing around, trying to pick it with traditional tools. Not a lot of luck. It is pretty tough, and here's why. You'll notice first of all that there's a notch on the outside, and most tubular locks have that, to index the key. But unusually on this one there's no cutout here to fit the little nib to provide tensioning to the core. So when you take a look at, I mean right away you want to use this tool again, but you'll notice that this one doesn't have a tensioner on the outside. It has it on the inside. So we could still probably remove that inner tension tool. In fact, I've done it. The problem is, you can still, it'll pick the lock, but then again, you've got nothing to tension it with. So this thing is actually tensioned. If I get this, it's a little bit of focus. It's tensioned by that indexing nib on the outside. The lock is actually underneath this skirt. So that little nib will turn the entire lock underneath the skirt. The tip of my pick is in the slot right now, and that's where I got to figure out how to tension it. So I've been messing around trying to tension it by the pins and all kinds of things. It doesn't work. Let me show you how this thing does work. Typical pin, typical key, pin just like any other tubular lock, and then we have that indexing nib on the outside and nothing on the inside. I wish I'd picked on that. I picked up on that a little bit earlier. Anyway, you take the key, put it in, rotate it 90 degrees, and you hear a click. That's as far as it goes, and the key will not come out. So you have to rotate it back, and then you say, well, something's wrong, and then you pull it all the way off, and you notice that little shaft. It's a spring-loaded shaft that pops up, and let me pull this off here, and so you can kind of see how this thing does work. You'll notice right on the bottom, well, do it right, Bill. Do it right or don't do it. You'll notice right on the bottom there, there's a slot, and that actually is what the shackle goes into. The hole in there, you slide it in, and then you push down on that. And of course, when you push down on that, that little shaft comes all the way through, and then it relocks the entire lock. And you got to figure out a way to pick it. Pretty tough. These are, the links quite honestly are probably the weak point. I haven't even tried to mess with any of those yet, but this isn't about the physical attack. This is about trying to pick what I consider to be kind of an unusual lock. So let me go ahead and put this thing back together, and then I'm going to have to figure out some kind of tensioner to tension this thing, and then we'll see if we can't get it picked. Alright guys, been messing with this for about an hour. I'm not having a whole lot of luck. This is a standard windshield wiper insert. It's the very narrowest one. The first idea was to kind of design something like this. Don't bother taking notes or screenshots. This thing doesn't work, but the idea was that I'd be able to take it, slide it in there like that, and then rotate it around into that groove, and then put tension on the lock. It doesn't work. I don't know why. It appears that I can put all kinds of tension on this. In fact, I've bent it several times. It appears that this is just a little bit too long, and it digs into the back of that lock and kind of seizes the whole thing up. And the other thing is that even though I've narrowed this, it kind of bites into that center core and wedges in place. So obviously I have to come up with something else. Alright guys, let's give this thing a shot. Got the camera around backwards, and that's because I really can't see anything through that camera lens. I got to look from this side. How do we know this thing's open? Well, first of all, the shackle, this is in a storage position right now. The shackle, it flops out. It's being held in place by this little plastic nib, and that's how you mount it on your bicycle. But it is locked because that shaft is down. And let me grab a key here. How do we know we got it picked? Well, as you say, when we rotate it 90 degrees, you hear that click? That's that shaft popping up into the unlocked position. So, in order to lock it back, just put it right back down. So open, popped up, locked down. Now, I know we got to pick it once, but we may have to pick this thing twice. I'm not really sure how many times in order to get 90 degrees out of it, but whatever. We're going to try it. Take the tensioner. I'm going to try to stick it in there. Get over, come here, you. And I believe that's it right there. We got plenty of clearance. And I believe that's it. I've repurposed, that was it. I've repurposed a Peterson pick. It's broken. So all I did was basically sharpen up that tip. Narrow the shaft and then flatten up that tip so I can use it as to pick these pins. All right, let's see what we got. All you do when you pick it, there's 6 pins. It was an empty position. I can't really see, but it's somewhere right in here. So you just test the pin, see if it's springy. If it is, you just keep moving on. And this one is not springy. He's bound, so I'm just going to push him until I get a click. Or my pick falls off, whichever comes first. Okay, this one's hard for me to see. He's still springy. He's bound. I got to click on him. 5 is still springy, and 6 still springy. And you just keep going in a circle. Try it again. Trial and error, guys. Trial and error. Helps if you can see down inside of there a little. Helps you line up onto those pins. We're not doing too bad. I would not, you need to make oh, that was a binder all the way down. I think he's set. This is a laboratory type environment, well lit. Nobody's shooting at me. Nobody going to hit me in the head with a baseball bat. Perfect lighting. All the stuff that you need. So in the wild, I just can't see that this is going to be very easy for anybody to pick. Three. He's set. 4. He's set. I believe 6 is good too. I think we've got them all picked, but for some reason, what I'm going to do, I might be bound up in there somehow. I'm going to take my pick and I'm going to give them a little assist. Maybe it's picked and we're bound up with that tension wrench. Of course, I've lost the tension wrench now. But I think, I don't know if you guys can see this, looks like that core is starting to rotate. Come on, baby. Get lined up a little better there. Nope. Nope, not yet, but it is partially picked. It is not spring loaded, so I believe I can put that tensioner back in there. It did turn. When I put the tensioner on, he turned. I thought he was picked, so the tensioner, although it's an okay design, it's not perfect. It seems like it's a little bit thick in the shaft here. So when I turn it, it binds up between the edge of the housing and that center shaft. So might take a little bit more off there. But anyway, there you go. We got it open on the RockBros. Like I said, it's not an easy lock to pick, particularly in field conditions. Laboratory here, well lit, got an adult beverage sitting right next to me. It's possible, but pretty tough lock. I can't say anything about the rest of it. Really haven't taken a look at it. These are plastic covered pieces of steel, and then these are steel pins. So while you might be able to twist this and break into it, we're really just looking at non-destructive ways to get in. This is what we call security through obscurity. Because it's kind of an odd design, it's going to take us a while to figure out the fastest way to get in there and design a special tool to bypass it. Maybe one of those picks from Southord, the 7-pin impressioning, but with a tensioner on the outside would be the ultimate tool for this. One more tool to put in the tool bag. Anyway, fellas, thanks for your time. Stay safe, stay legal. Now I got to pick it back in order to lock it. Dang it.